You tweeted it out. Why couldn't we get 21 of these?
Just cancel the rest and let me watch those two teams play.
So good.
21 times. There was a moment in the first half of this game where it was 33-11, New York Knicks. And I could not help but think about that quote. You may have seen it, that was going around today a lot from Nick Nurse, where he talked about themes within the series. And this was the quote: "I've decided nothing matters. They kill us on the glass, it goes down to the buzzer. We kill them on the glass, it goes down to the buzzer. Joel scores 50, it goes down to the buzzer. Jalen Brunson scores 47, it goes down to the buzzer." And so there I am, while it's 33-11, and I've got this Nick Nurse quote in my head, and I'm like, is this for real going to go down to the buzzer? Because this looks like a run out. And sure enough, there we are at the end of the game. Buddy Hield.
Down to the buzzer again. Yeah, Buddy Hield, where the hell did he come from? Rose from the dead.
Yeah, and then he became dead on that last shot of the game.
Oh my God.
I don't know if he thought he was going to get fouled quick, and that's why, but he had time.
Yeah. He had time. I did feel like he had time. He rushed it.
They could have got a way better look with 3.7.
The whole end game was weird. Like I get going for 2 when down 3, but then like the weak trapping and then Embiid fouls out. I mean, it's just like the whole end game was strange.
Look, you know that you and I were looking at this as objective viewers. I am super interested to see where the blame game goes with this, because I think it's fair to say you and me, and I think most fans of teams are sitting back and watching this and getting to take it all in. And if it ends tonight, it ends tonight. Man, wouldn't 7 in Madison Square Garden be cool? But there will be fans, certainly, of the 76ers that play the blame game, and yet it's not a super obvious one. There wasn't somebody that just threw up some colossal dud. Yeah, Embiid got gassed at the end, but he gave you 39 and 13 in a must-win game. Maxey started out super slow. You knew he was going to get mega attention after what he had done in the Garden. But the other guys stepped up on that team. You know, the bench scoring was an absolute bloodbath tonight. It was 42-5. 42-5 in bench scoring. Tibbs only played 7 guys. And
unbelievable.
I mean, you know, they already hate Tobias Harris, so what are you going to do? Bitch about his donut?
Well, I mean, he did get 29 minutes. It probably should have been 0. It probably should have been. It's just for Nurse. I mean, he does have a more shallow bench. He probably feels like in his eyes that he needs that 6'8", 6'9" forward body out there. But he is a complete 0. It was a donut in literally every single way for Tobias Harris.
Yeah, but I mean, like, nobody. That's no fun as blaming Tobias Harris, right? They were booing him earlier in the series anyway at home.
For Philly to spin it forward, though, it is going to be incredibly easy to find an upgrade over Tobias Harris, and that will help the team a lot next season. He has been terrible.
It was quite the grand finale for a guy they already didn't like, right?
A fitting finale, to be honest with you.
Right.
He was terrible all season, all series especially. We talked about it before in the non-Embiid minutes. Yes, you can blame Paul Reed. Yes, and all, like, Maxey could have been better in those minutes. Well, that's what you pay Tobias Harris $40 million for, is to elevate his play and be more like the Clippers version of himself when he can get more buckets, and he never did that.
Yeah, and that outlet for the extra attention that Embiid or Maxey was going to get, I don't think you could have filled in any better than Batum gives you 16, and Buddy Hield rises from the dead in a huge game and gives you 20 and 6 threes off the bench. Now, I will say, I was watching the game with my son, and he's been watching this series with me. Loves it. Loved the series, obviously, as did every sports fan. And he was asking me down the stretch when Brunson was just cooking them. He's like, why are they not? Why is Batum not on him all the time? Why don't they have the length on him? He was killing Buddy Hield. And it was like, you can't let this happen. Like, Jalen Brunson could score on Buddy Hield 98 out of 100 times. And then what's crazy is, and this speaks to Brunson's absolute brilliance, they did get the switch on defense to Oubre, and then he had the quick move into the middle, stopped, let him run over him from the back, and then put it in. And so it's like the answer was, it didn't really matter who they had on Jalen Brunson. Brunson, 3 straight 40-point games, and I could not help but think about a discussion that we had. You may remember me bringing this up about a month and a half ago. He was going crazy. I mean, he was averaging like, for a week, he was averaging almost 40 points. It was like between 35 and 40, and one player of the week and all that. And I said, you'll remember this. I said, is it possible? We've kept on saying that the Achilles heel is going to be that we know throughout NBA history, you got to have like a top 5 guy in order to get it done.
I do remember this conversation.
And I said, is it possible that this is happening and we're not willing to realize it because we've got 5 years in our head? But if you lined up the numbers, he is putting up Curry numbers. No one considers him Steph Curry level. And yet go look at his season that he just had. Points per game, from the field, from 3. It's like, that was a Curry season. And then we got to the beginning of this series. It's like, oh, this is where he's small and the length is going to get to him. And then he dropped 43 games in a row. And it's like, is he so much higher on a best NBA players list than any of us ever accepted?
I do believe he is.
I think so.
I do. I mean, he averaged 35.5 points in the series, and that's including a 22 points on 26 game and a 24 points on 29 shots game. 2 very inefficient games to start the series. And since then, 39 points on 27, 47 points on 34, 40 points on 32, and then tonight, 41 points on 27 shots. I mean, like, low turnovers, high assists, 9 assists in the series to only 2.8 turnovers. And the dude is an absolute gamer. Clutch shots from mid-range, clutch threes, clutch passes. He is just a gamer. He is a baller in those endgame situations on top of just the raw numbers. So I think with Brunson, it is, I mean, you said it, you were right. Is he actually what he appears to be, right? Is he actually this? Right. And I think the same question is worth raising now. Is he actually great enough to be the best player on a championship team? The way in which he's performing sure feels like it. I will add this, though. I think the only counter argument, playing devil's advocate here, is what happens in a series, say, against, East Finals against Boston, where they're sticking a bunch of long-armed defenders on him that could be bothering him all game long. Whereas Philly, that's one thing Philly's missing, where we're talking about Tobias Harris, and like, he is not that long arm defender. Oubre is a solid defender, but not a lockdown guy. And Nick Batum is a good defender as well, but he's not elite. And I think that's the counter argument here, that doing this against Philly, I do think Brunson is a higher ranked playoff player than a regular season player, though, and he should have been ranked higher in the regular season, and he continues to prove that over and over. But I do think that's the only counter argument that people can really have at this point, because this guy's done it for years.
Because he's gonna keep smoking in the Indiana series.
Oh my God, he might average 40,
right? And so we're talking about the East Finals against a team that's been together and has great continuity and, as you mentioned, long, athletic, all-NBA level talent, and Drew Holiday to go along with that, right? Not only do they have
Derek
the
White.
Yeah.
Derek White, too. I mean, like, Boston has everything you could ask for against a Jalen Brunson.
So if he cooked against them, debate over. All I'm saying
Yes.
is if he shouldn't be ranked extremely highly amongst the best player on a team, superstar rankings, then what production would warrant it? Because if Steph Curry did this, we'd be going bonkers.
Oh, yeah.
And I told you this, this is when we first had this discussion, you'll remember. For those that are big Mismatch listeners, you'll recall me bringing this up, and I said, it's the craziest thing I've ever witnessed in my time watching sports, that everybody gets wildly and massively overrated playing in New York. And yet this guy
but not him.
has not been. He hasn't been massively.
I know.
He has been, if anything, we're having a discussion about underrated in terms of what he brings to the table. Like somehow, even though we watched him towards Utah a couple of years ago when he was without Luka in Dallas, there's a whole nation of people that are watching this series against Philadelphia that are going, oh my God, this guy is amazing.
All right. So with that in mind, Chris, okay. Of all the teams still standing, so everybody that's advanced already, and then the Clippers and the Mavs and the Cavs and the Magic. So of every team still standing, where would you pick Brunson when you're lining them all up against the wall? Where does Brunson get picked? I think Jokic definitely goes first.
Luka goes second.
Luka goes second. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you have Anthony Edwards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, healthy Kawhi Leonard, Jalen Brunson, Kyrie. Like, who else is even in that same discussion?
No, he's
right there.
Well, nobody from the Cavaliers and the Magic series.
Nobody, exactly.
No. So nobody from that series.
You take him ahead of Mitchell. I think Mitchell's in that next group, but not.
And probably because he's a little more veteran savvy than some of those other guys. They're going to have to prove it as well, right? Where, Edwards going to have to deliver on this next stage, and Gilgeous-Alexander is going to have to deliver on this next stage. I would say the only 100%ers are, because I think that there's a lot of people out there that don't have undeniable trust in Tatum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think once you get past Jokic and Luka, you can debate.
Yes,
with
you
this
could
guy.
take him third. I think
it would not be insane.
Anthony Edwards has made a really strong case to be that third pick, because he's not just an offensive, juggernaut right now in the postseason. He's also a really good defensive player. So I think that's where you could argue him with defense. With Tatum, that'd be the argument as well. He's a great defensive player on top of offering, different traits on offense. Well, I think I'd take Brunson ahead of Tatum, though, because scoring is just so incredibly valuable in those end game situations. And Brunson, even when he was in Dallas, in those games minus Luka, has proven he can be elite in those situations.
Well, Kev, here's the other thing. He does this. I thought it would show up in the playoffs, and especially maybe even a series against Philly, the whole not having Randall as just another offensive outlet. There is not another I count on you offensive outlet for him.
No.
It is him, and then just as an offensive player, who is the second player you're taking off the Knicks? OG?
I mean, it's probably Dante DiVincenzo because the shooting.
Okay, and he just had his first good game of the series.
Yeah. That's a tough question. That's a tough question.
So that's what he's
really
up
tough.
That's what he's got going.
Yeah.
He's the guy.
Really tough.
Right?
Yeah.
Just in offense. Like, we're not playing defense.
Yeah.
Just I get
just
this player
offense.
as an offensive player.
Yeah. It's probably, it's got to be OG or DiVincenzo. Has to be one of those two. I think Hartenstein's finisher. Hart is scrappy, connective piece, but not creator necessarily. I think that says a lot. That puts it into great perspective.
I know he's a bona fide gamer, but how do you think, with the game on the line, everybody felt about Brunson taking the hard dribble left, Oubre chasing, Batum chasing, throw it back up to Josh Hart at the top of the key?
So cool.
And that's it's like that's what happened when the guy got doubled. That's who he's throwing it to.
It's like Kobe passing the ball to Ron Artest in the finals.
It is exactly like that.
Kobe passed me the ball.
Very reminiscent.
Kobe passing to me.
Very reminiscent. Because Ron Artest, also foxhole guy, right?
Yeah. For sure.
You are not counting on him to hit the game-winning 3 for you, right? You are counting him to get the game-winning rebound.
And yet, game one, like, he hits some bangers as well.
I know.
Too.
Well, and a huge redemption after missing the free throw that could have given him a 4-point lead. Mitchell Robinson kind of got him off the hook with the goofy plays down the stretch, but Hart makes that free throw. They're up 4.
Yeah.
So know he was kicking himself over that ever since and got his chance at redemption and made the most of it.
He made a really good play there too, because you'll notice after Brunson passed him the ball, Josh Hart kind of pump fake to the right to DiVincenzo, and that caused Tyrese Maxey, who was kind of splitting between them, to shade towards DiVincenzo because he's the better shooter. But then Hart, that little pump fake opened them up for the wide open 3. Like, there was no contest from Kelly Oubre, who there's impossible for him when he was trailing Brunson so tight. So like, even in that moment, like you mentioned, how Hart grabs the big rebounds at the end of games, he'll take the charge and all that. Even in that moment, that basketball IQ, that sense did pop up with that little pump fake, the hard pump fake to open up the shot for him. Like, that's just, the IQ is elite. And I just thought that was a really cool little moment in that play.
And also, and this is going to sound wild because he did not have like the biggest game in the world, but everything.